He wasn't just big, he was unreal. The monster who redefined mass and shocked bodybuilding forever. When you hear the name Markus Ruhl, you don't just think of a bodybuilder, you think of a walking anomaly. A human being who looked like he was carved out of pure granite, injected with chaos, and unleashed onto the bodybuilding stage to shatter every expectation of what the human body could become. This wasn't aesthetics. This wasn't symmetry. This was mass in its most terrifying, jaw-dropping form. Markus Ruhl didn't enter bodybuilding to fit in. He arrived to intimidate the sport itself. From ordinary beginnings to extraordinary mutation. Before the madness, before the crowd stared in disbelief, Markus was just another guy in Germany. But everything changed after an injury pushed him into the gym. What started as recovery turned into obsession. And that obsession, it spiraled into something the bodybuilding world had never truly seen before. While others chased proportion, Markus chased sheer, overwhelming size. And then, it happened. The delts that shook the world. If there was one body part that made Markus Ruhl legendary, it was his shoulders. Not just big, not just round. They were mutant. His deltoids didn't look human, they looked engineered. Every time he stepped on stage, the audience froze. Competitors glanced sideways, silently acknowledging what stood beside them wasn't normal competition. It was a mass monster from another dimension. Even among giants in the IFBB, Markus stood out as something extreme. Judges didn't know whether to reward him or fear what he represented. Because Markus didn't fit the mold, he broke it. The unfettered, unapologetic beast. What made Markus even more shocking wasn't just his physique, it was his personality. He didn't pretend. He didn't polish his image. He didn't play the game. He was raw, loud, unfiltered, real. In a world where athletes carefully crafted their public image, Markus Ruhl stood there, massive, outspoken, and completely unapologetic. Fans loved him, not because he was perfect, but because he was authentic in a sport full of masks. The controversy that made him legendary. Let's be honest, Markus Ruhl wasn't everyone's favorite. Some critics said he was too big, others said he lacked the classic look. But here's the truth no one could ignore. You could not look away from him. While others blended into the lineup, Markus dominated attention. He didn't need perfect symmetry to make an impact. His presence alone overpowered the stage. And in bodybuilding, being unforgettable is power. A symbol of extreme bodybuilding. In an era where legends like Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler were defining greatness, Markus Ruhl carved out a completely different identity. He wasn't chasing their path. He wasn't trying to be Mr. Olympia. He became something else entirely, a symbol of how far the human body could be pushed beyond logic. He represented the extreme edge of bodybuilding, the point where admiration meets disbelief. The legacy that still shocks today, even years after stepping away from the competitive stage, Markus Ruhl remains a cult icon. Why? Because no matter how advanced bodybuilding becomes, no matter how many champions rise and fall, no one has replicated that look, that insane density, that freak factor, that overwhelming presence. You can scroll through modern physiques, analyze symmetry, debate conditioning, but when Markus appears on your screen, everything else pauses. Because you're not just looking at a bodybuilder, you're witnessing a moment in time when bodybuilding went completely off the rails and created something unforgettable. The final truth, fear, respect, and immortality. Markus Ruhl didn't win the most titles. He didn't dominate the Olympia stage, but he achieved something far more rare. He became immortal in the minds of fans. A reminder that bodybuilding isn't just about perfection. It's about pushing limits, so far that people don't know whether to cheer or stare in shock. And that's exactly what Markus did. He didn't just build muscle, he built a legend that still leaves people asking one question. Was that even human?